In this module, we're going to be learning about child abuse and child neglect. And in your assignment, you're going to have several questions that you have to answer after looking at the North Carolina Division of Social Services website about child abuse and child neglect. So, what defines child abuse? Well, most of us want nothing but the best for our children. Child abuse and child neglect are out there, and it's common. So there are words and ways that people abuse and neglect children. And so we need to be aware of those signs. Some of the signs are sudden changes in behavior or sudden changes in the school performance. So a child might be a good student and then all of a sudden start failing. Displays over-sexualized behavior or exhibits sexual knowledge that is inconsistent with their age. If a child is acting out sexually and they're young, they're seeing it somewhere or something's happening to them. They have not received medical attention for a physical injury that's been brought to their parents' attention. The child might be complaining about a constant pain in their, and you've made the parent aware, and it's over time, and they've had time to take the child to the doctor, and they haven't taken the child to the doctor, and it's getting worse. That's abuse. The child has learning problems that cannot be attributed to any specific physical or psychological causes. So the child is just having trouble learning and we don't know why, and it's unusual. So anything like that that's really highly unusual is a sign. The child is always watchful as though preparing for something bad to happen. Or you come up behind the child and they flinch. You know that the child is on guard. That's not normal. The child is overly compliant, an overachiever, or is too responsible. They're trying too hard. Just something that's out of the ordinary. The child comes to school early, wants to stay late, and doesn't want to go home. You know that there's something at home that they don't want to go home to. The child has unexplained burns or bites or bruises, broken bones or black eyes. The child has bruises or marks in non-prominent fleshy areas of the body. For example, inside the biceps or behind the knees, they have bruises there. The child has faded bruises or other marks noticeable after an absence from school. So they've been home on school break for Christmas and they come back and they have bruises that have been faded, but they were prominent to begin with. They seem frightened of the parents and protest or cries when it's time to go home from school. They shrink at the approach of adults. So those are the things that the signs that the child has child abuse. When you meet with the parent or the adult caregiver, a sign that they are abusive or neglectful is that they just show little concern for the child. They rarely respond to a school's requests for information or for conferences or for home visits. They deny entrance to, they deny the existence. They blame the child for the child's problems, and they ask the classroom teacher to use harsh punishment for the child when they misbehave. They see the child as entirely bad or worthless. They demand perfection at a level that's unrealistic. They offer conflicting, unconvincing, and no explanation for a child's injury. They describe the child as evil or bad. And abusing alcohol or prescription drugs or illegal drugs that seems to be so much so that the abuse has an impact on the child. They use harsh physical discipline for the child, and they have a history of child abuse. Now, looking at neglect, neglect is when a child is just not taken care of. And so the signs of neglect in a child are the child might be begging or stealing food or money from their classmates. The child lacks medical or dental care and needs it. The child lacks age-appropriate adult supervision. You hear about a child being left alone at night or a small child being left alone, period. The child lacks the appropriate clothing for the weather. Maybe they don't have a winter coat, or maybe they come to school with no shoes on. They report family violence in the home. They report uses of illegal substances or excessive use of alcohol by the parents or caregivers, so maybe to the point that the person passes out. They they abuse alcohol or drugs, and they state that there's no one at home to provide care for them or fix dinner for them, or they come in hungry. Now, when you talk to the parent or the adult caregiver, they appear to be indifferent to the child. They seem apathetic or depressed. They're involved in an abusive domestic relationship. They behave irrationally or in a bizarre manner, and they might be abusing alcohol, prescription drugs, or illegal drugs. I had a parent come into a parent-teacher conference. It was one time, she was high as a kite. She sat down and she just passed out in front of me and slumped over. You know, you have to give her credit for trying to come to a parent-teacher conference, but she was totally out of it, and you know, not fit to be taking care of that child. So when you see signs of abuse or neglect, you are a mandated reporter, and it's important for you to know that. It can be scary at times to report child abuse or child neglect, because you think how that parent's going to know that I reported them. Now, when you report, you are kept anonymous. You will receive a letter confirming that you are the person that reported, but your name is withheld. Nobody will reveal who you are or where that report came from. And when that happens, the Department of Social Services is mandated to go out and to make a visit and to see what's going on and ask questions. Sometimes someone might report you. A parent might report you as an anger and retaliation because they think that you discipline their child harshly. And if that happens, just remember that it's their job to protect the child, and so they're coming to find out information, and if you have nothing to hide, then don't worry about it. But at the end of all of this, I want you to know that you are a mandated reporter. So if you work in a daycare and you hear of a child being spanked in the daycare, that's against the law, and you're mandated to report that. If you hear that food is being withheld from a child as a form of punishment, that is against the law, and you're mandated to report that. Those are offenses that the Division of Child Development will come and inspect.